And now it's letting you put an intro video on there.
What? Hello.
Hello, everyone.
This is your intro video.
Yeah. Sorry, StreamYard is updated since I hosted a live show, 6 months ago on my channel. So
they've done a lot of updates recently.
Yes. I'm very out of the loop. But anyway, welcome everyone. This is our FebRegency Wrap Up. Unfortunately, Tristan could not be here today, but we miss him very much. And yeah, we're just gonna discuss what we read, watched, whatever, and it'll probably be chaos and it'll be a good time.
As all good times are, chaotic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So just in case, I guess we have any new people, do you guys want to introduce yourselves really quick, and then we can kind of jump into all things FebRegency?
Yeah, I can go first. Hi, everyone. Hello, Molly. Welcome. My name is Christy Lewis, and my channel is Christy Lewis Dostoevsky in Space. And I've been doing FebRegency. Boy, is this our 4th year? I don't know, 3rd, 4th year, something like that. And it is always a joy, and I'm just so grateful that these ladies banded together to make sure it happened this year. Hi. Hi, Penny. Yeah, and I've been really enjoying classics for years. I studied them in school, and so yeah, I found some great ones this month.
Awesome.
I'm Tiffany. My channel name is Beautiful Minutia, and this is my 1st year being a co-host of FebRegency, but like my 3rd or 4th year participating. So I've been participating for longer than I've been a co-host, and it's been really fun over the years because I just always thought of Regency era literature, and like most people, the thing that I thought of was Jane Austen, and hadn't really ventured much beyond that until FebRegency kind of like pushed me out of that envelope. So I am very grateful for FebRegency.
Yes. Yeah, I learned about so many new to me authors.
Yeah,
started. It's been so nice.
I love how you clarified new to me.
Yes.
You're like new authors, new to me authors. I'm like, yeah, that's true. I guess they wouldn't be new. Time travel.
Man. Like bring back to life like a zombie.
Yeah. Pride and Prejudice and zombies.
Yeah. That would be interesting.
It would.
Jane Austen's probably rolling over in her grave right now, but it's fine.
She probably would laugh at it, honestly. She had a great sense of humor.
That's true.
So true.
Man. So yeah, for FebRegency, we didn't have a group read. It was just, read anything Regency era. Did you guys have a favorite of the month that you read, or how did your reading month go?
Gosh, I think I'm tied. I reread Sense and Sensibility, which I haven't read since I was like in high school, and I loved that so much. I didn't remember loving it the first time I read it. I didn't remember what I thought at all, but I loved it. But I also loved Rime of the Ancient Mariner, which I've never read before. So I feel like they're tied for me. I can't decide.
Yeah. They're both so different.
They are. I love it. I don't know if I had a favorite or not. Hi. I kind of had a slumpy month, which I'll kind of get into that a little bit when I talk about one of the books that I ended up DNFing because I was so slumpy. But I feel like Stephanie and I, with Dia, read The Italian by Anne Radcliffe. And I feel like if I had read that when I wasn't slumpy, it might have been like 5 stars because it was so fun. Like it was so dramatic and just like over the top with plot twists in the best way. But I too reread Sense and Sensibility and read Rime of the Ancient Mariner for the first time, and I loved both of those too. So.
Great minds.
I know.
Yes.
Accidentally copying each other is great.
Yeah. We're just good friends. It's fine.
We share a brain. It's great.
Yeah.
Reading sprints help.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, they really did. I read 2 books, and I think the Italian was my favorite. I think I was more or less in a reading slump than you were. And I was very much in the mood. Like, I'm also reading a ton of Stephen Graham Jones right now, which has nothing to do with FebRegency. But everything is like slasher or murder. And then the Italian had a lot of like murder and really dynamic villains. So it was exactly what I needed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it had a slow start. I think we all struggled to kind of get into it. But then once an event happens, it just takes off from there. And it was so much fun.
It was really fun.
Yeah. And I think the last third of it, I just could not put it down.
Yeah.
It was like, I need to know what happens.
Plot twist after plot twist after plot twist. And one of the best villains of any book that I've read. Like, seriously, the villain was so villainous and so fun to hate. It was great. Hi.
Like,
good evening.
From Hungary. How cool. Yeah, I feel like, like I think we were talking about in the group chat, I think some of it would be very over dramatic today, but back in the day it was so fun to read about.
Yes. Yeah.
Or like, I fell in love with you from afar and now I'm going to risk my life to rescue you.
Yes.
For everlasting love.
Yeah, we talked about this in our group chat, Stephanie, Dia, and I, that like I didn't particularly like the male lead all that much because he was so over the top, but I really liked everyone else. Like, I liked his sidekick who was so fiercely loyal to him. I loved the female lead because, and this is not spoilery to say this, but there's a moment where they are in grave danger and the male lead is like, we should get married. And she's like, maybe we should talk about this later.
Right.
And I'm like, someone's saying what we're all thinking.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about this later. Can we try not to die first?
Right.
And I really liked her. I felt like she was very practical and like self-respecting, and actually fairly strong for a Regency era heroine.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt like it had a really strong plot. Like, it really did.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was a good length. If it had been any longer, I feel like it would have dragged.
Yeah. So if you struggled with the Mysteries of Udolpho, you should try the Italian because it is much more tightly plotted and paced, because the Mysteries of Udolpho is very meandering and it takes you about a third of the 700-page book to get to the plot at all. So the Italian's not like that. Picks up much sooner. So yeah.
And I just love the lessons of like stranger danger and like monks showing up in dark alleys.
Yeah, watch out.
Maybe not follow them into darkness.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
It was a good time.
I read the description with the evil monk and I was like, I am so curious what they're all going to think.
Yeah,
it was fun.
The first message was Dia saying something like, well, maybe we shouldn't follow a monk into a dark alley. And it's like, well, now I need to know what this means.
Yeah. Will no longer. I love it. Yes. You were doing it before. Now you know.
Sorry.
No longer. I've learned my lesson.
Yeah. But I love that there was like mystery upon mystery. It was just so fun.
Yeah. And there were some things like Dia predicted one of the big plot twists almost from the beginning, but there were several that shocked all three of us that we were like, what?
Yeah. It was a popcorn book. We just kept sending the gifts of like people eating popcorn.
Yeah.
Like, what's happening next?
Very, very entertaining.
Yeah. So I'm interested in reading more of her catalog because it was just a good time. And her characters were just so good.
They were
so good. And I think we said the side character to the main guy. Mm-hmm. We both said he reminded us of what's his name? Sancho?
Yeah, from Don Quixote.
Yeah, but he was such a little cinnamon roll.
What?
And so dramatic.
He was so nicer than Sancho.
Yeah, he was. Hi, Rich.
Hi, Rich.
Oh, yes. Tell us about your FebRegency read. We're interested.
I know what Rich read for FebRegency.
Yes.
We talked about it on Discord at length.
It was a very good choice.
It was.
So, was there another book that you guys read that stuck out to you, or was it kind of like a middling read?
I read Castle Rackrent by the same author as Belinda, which was one of my idea.
We were just talking about Idia.
Yes, we were.
We were just talking about the Italian.
Yes.
Sorry, Christy, go ahead.
Your thoughts. No, you're fine. Please share your thoughts. Because I wasn't in the group chat, so I'm like, tell me more. I need to hear it all.
Yeah, I was interested to hear what you thought of that one because I feel like Belinda was such a crowd favorite.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I really loved Belinda, and I could see it was the same writer writing Castle Rackrent because there were moments that I was just like, I love this. And I feel like it was very short. And basically it's following it's written by a servant of an Irish lord. And he's been living with and serving the family of lords. And he's basically telling the history of this family. And I don't want to spoil how the end is, so I won't. But when I got to the end of it, I was like, I don't get it. So I read a lot of introductory material on it, and I was like, oh, her vision, I get it more now. So yeah, she's like, overall, I would say the narrator is not entirely trustworthy, but very fun to read from. I think the narrator is fun. I think the way some of the family details was a little overwhelming. In the beginning, I was like, I don't know who these. It was just very like too much information about his family, But at a certain point, it was like this got so dramatic so fast. And so I think once I kind of understood what she was doing in her whole purpose, criticizing kind of colonialism, because Irish was colonized by the English, I was like, I get it now. And I really appreciated it. And if I had had time, I wanted to read the second novella. She wrote several Irish novellas because she's an Irish novelist, which I didn't really realize. So yeah, it was so new to me. I didn't really understand the feeling between the Irish and the English, although Emma has mentioned it. So I think I rated it maybe like 3.5, because while I was reading it, I was like confused. But then once I read a bunch of introductory material, I got it better. So it wasn't like 5 stars, but I felt like I learned a lot from it. So I definitely wanted to give it a decent rating. So yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I usually see like the edition of Castle Rackrent that I own is paired with Ennui. So I was wondering if those two went together, if Ennui built on Castle Rackrent more to make it more understandable, or I don't know, but
I think she wrote what she called moral tales, and it's not like what we think of as moral. And so I don't know that they were connected in any way, like story-wise, but I think it was the same genre of like moral tale where she's making a point, So yeah, I think probably reading more of them probably would help you understand the genre that she was trying to write better. So because I had not heard that about Belinda. Maybe I did, that Belinda was a moral tale, but to me, Belinda was just so fun. I didn't really think about morals necessarily.
Yeah, I didn't either. It was just a ride.
Right, exactly. So, yeah.
When you say ennui, I think of Henri, the ennui cat. I don't know if you watched him back in the day.
I didn't.
But it was a cat with ennui, and it would just be this black and white cat, and it would have a voiceover of like, my humans have continuously ignored my pleas for more food. Life is awful.
Doesn't every cat have ennui though? Really?
Thank you. But this was a famous and then Henri.
Henri with ennui. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Never heard of this.
it's always fun.
Cute.
Yes, I thought Belinda was last year, but I still remember so much of it. It was just such a twisty turny book, I feel like.
Fun. I still haven't read any Mariah Edgeworth at all. So, but I do own Castle Rent and Ennui. So I thought about picking them up this year, but I had enough.
Yeah.
I take it this is a Frankenstein quote. I love it.
Ooh, you have the best quotes.
Was this from a spreadsheet, Rich? You had it saved.
Right.
So the most profound thing I read during February. No, I'm just kidding.
It was
The thing that changed my life.
I've started a cult and I want people to join.
I'm in.
That would be fun, a FebRegency cult. We just sit around drinking tea and wear Regency era attire.
There was a
Wait for Mr.
Long live show when we read through Mistborn last year, where someone popped on one of those live shows, and it was someone who is not subscribed to my channel, never seen them before, and they just commented like, "What is this? A cult?" I was like, kind of.
Pretty much.
Sanderson cult.
That's funny.
I deleted the comment though because I was like, where's this person going with this? I don't know this person. Like
the police just show up at your door for a welfare check.
Yeah. Sometimes live shows can get some pretty scary comments.
Right.
Or just weird comments that you're like, I'm not gonna respond to this. I have no idea who this is. Like if it's not my husband, then I don't trust the troll.
Right.
So my husband's out of town, so he's not trolling today.
Okay. So any troll comments pop up. Legit trolls.
Yeah. Maybe. And maybe I just devastated them by deleting that comment because I was worried about what they were gonna say next.
They're like, fine, I'm gonna find another cult.
Well, clearly I'm not ready to like do the mind control thing. If I just like dismiss them that easily, they're probably like, wow, she's really bad at recruiting people. Oh my goodness.
That would be hilarious.
Okay.
Regency cult though.
Yeah. I mean, BookTube almost feels like a cult in a way.
Yeah.
Sometimes. I mean, not really, because you're allowed to question and you're allowed to leave, but you know. We stuck you in and we convinced you to read books.
Allowed to leave.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I read I think it's Chenchi by Percy Shelley. And I'd read Prometheus Unbound in college and loved it.
Oh yeah, that one's good.
And this was only if you ask the right questions.
Rich is judging your questions.
Yes. But my friend Daryl, who you see pop around on like a lot of like classics videos, read it and he was like, it has this, it has this, it has this. It was dramatic. You need to read it. And it's like, this sounds like the perfect thing for me right now. And I read it in one sitting.
Oh, I love it.
Nice.
And, it wasn't like the perfect play, but it was very dramatic. And it had a lot of things that I was not expecting in it. And I did have to go a little bit online and look up some things like, did that really say what I think it said? And it did.
Oh, scandalous.
It was really good. So I can see why it was very scandalous for the time. And it's like
Percy Shelley was.
Yes, absolutely. But this was like, yeah. But again, like crazy plot twists and villainous villains, and it was just. I think this was the
Stephanie.
year for like, yeah. My theme is murder for FebRegency. Let's just put it out there.
My theme is murder.
Well, and then I said in the group chat with Dia and Tiffany, I think I said something like nothing like a good murder to perk up your day. And it's like, it's so true. An on-page murder, not a real life murder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you specified that.
Seen my channel before.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. It's always fun. I like that one.
Oh, goodness.
Man.
Hi.
To boop the like button. I love that.
Cute.
Thank you. But yeah, it was nice to have some popcorn reads this year because I feel like in years past I've read heavier stuff, which have been good. But since I've been slumpy, it's been so nice.
Yes.
Just easy breezy reads or thrilling reads. And
I think that was my problem because I guess I'll talk about my DNF now. I got like probably 55% of the way through Ivanhoe, and then I just couldn't take it anymore because I just didn't care. And to be fair, when I was listening to it on audio, and like it was a really crazy week where like I was cleaning out a basement that had massively flooded. We lost a pet, we lost a family member, and I was already in a reading slump before all of that happened. So I think my brain just really didn't want it. And finally I was like, I should just not do this. It's like pulling teeth for me to continue trying to read this. And this book deserves for me to care while I read it. So it's not like a forever DNF, but it is a DNF for the foreseeable future for this year. I'm not planning to pick it back up this year, but like maybe there will be a time that I will try it again because I know that it's really well loved by so many. But I think part of it too was like the setting just really wasn't working for me. Like I wasn't really interested in kind of like a more Robin Hood-esque time period setting. I was like, I want to be reading like Regency era feeling things. So even though it was written in the Regency era, it does not take place in the Regency era, as opposed to Sense and Sensibility and the Italian. So I was just like, I don't know. It just wasn't working for me. So, but I think it was because like my brain needed something that was more fun, like the Italian. Something that didn't require as much of me as Ivanhoe is requiring. Although I've heard some people say they thought Ivanhoe was fun. So it very well could have been my mood. But
I remember Ivanhoe being fun, but I think it took me a while to get into it. And I think if I remember, it does have its peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
Versus the Italian, that's like once you got going, it was just like constant.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I get that. Well, I hate that it took 50% to get there, but
well, I no one can say I didn't give it a fair try, you know. Exactly. And I was buddy reading it with my older sister because she had wanted to read Ivanhoe too. And I texted her and I'm like, I am having a really hard time. And she's like, oh, thank goodness, I am bored to tears. Can we stop? And she didn't even get close to as far as me. And she's like, can we read something else?
That's so funny when the other person's just like, oh my gosh.
So I'm like, I feel at least validated. Like, I'm not saying I really want to read some more Sir Walter Scott, like, but with a different setting. Because I own several other of his. So I want to give him more of a try because it wasn't his writing style that wasn't working for me. I don't know. I just didn't care. Like, everyone felt like a giant stereotype. Felt like no one had any real personality. It was just like, this is the knightly thing. This is the damsel in distress. This is the beautiful, mysterious Jewish girl. This is like they didn't have it didn't feel like they had real personalities that I could latch onto, unlike the Italian, where everyone had a very big personality. Yeah, Rich. Very light. I gotta pick that up. Starting next week. I'm starting it next week. Anyway.
Yeah, I can see that. I think I really loved the setting of Ivanhoe. Like I was so invested in the Robin Hood part. And I was like, why is this called Ivanhoe? Why isn't this just called like after Robin Hood? Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I really liked that. But I definitely agree with Stephanie that there was peaks and valleys. There was parts where I didn't care, and then there was parts where I was like, this is the best. So yeah.
I will give it another try at some point. Maybe next year for FebRegency, my brain will be in a better place.
Yeah.
Am I frozen to you guys?
No.
Okay. My camera is not frozen, but everything in StreamYard is frozen.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So if I suddenly look confused, that's why.
We'll carry on.
So I can't click on any comments right now. So I'm
Okay.
not
That's
ignoring.
all right.
Sorry.
Oh, weird.
Sentimental Journey that Dia brought up sounds really interesting. A guide to the kings and queens during the
Yes.
Regency. And then she
I-
read Jane Austen's Table as well. Both of those sound really interesting.
Yes.
Mm.
It's funny to see Rich saying that he thinks that Frankenstein would have worked better as a short story for him, because I feel like Frankenstein is relatively brief compared to many
Yes.
of the Regency era books. It's not quite short story level, but yeah.
Agreed. Oh, that's interesting. I forget, where did you said you're from Hungary, Philomena? What is your native language? Hungarian? Is that your native language?
Well, it's
Yeah,
nice that
sometimes
I
when
can
you're
have it
digging,
translated for that.
yes, I know. Sometimes when you're digging through older classics, it can be hard to find classics that aren't as well known. It can be hard to find resources on those
Yeah.
classics. Like, there might not be an
Definitely.
audiobook, or like you said, there might not be a translation. There might not be an ebook, so.
Mm. It's going to unfreeze and look like the Indy 500, Dia said. Look at all these at once, 70.
My whole screen is just black. I'm so sorry.
You look fine though. Like you haven't
Yeah.
frozen at all. So we're just trying to bring up the comments as
Okay.
we
I'm
do.
so
Yes.
sorry.
It's okay.
If you want
Technology
to,
is wonderful when it works.
I was gonna say, if you want to go back out and come back in, but I don't know if that works on StreamYard. I know it works on Zoom.
I'm gonna try restarting my camera, so I'll
Okay.
be right back.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. We're just saying that Hawthorne was before Regency. He wasn't. I don't think. I just looked it up. He was born during the Regency time period,
Oh,
but
interesting.
he lived till 1864. So he would have written slightly after the Regency time period, I think. And he was American. So that can make a difference too in terms of like tone of short stories.
Mhm.
So
Yep, us Americans, we are different.
yeah. I actually so far have not loved or even liked most of Hawthorne's novels, but I really like his short stories. Like he works much better for me in a shorter form than a longer form. Although to be fair, I've only read like 2 or 3 of his novels, so. But I've read a bunch of his short stories and I really like them because I think he does better with ideas, but then just kind of like loses steam. So
What did you think of Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner?
I loved it so much. I had never read it before because I decided, I was like, okay, I brought my books over here. I have this really beautiful edition of like the romantic poets, like it's the word cloud edition. So like you probably can't see, but like the stems and the leaves are the author's names or the poet's names. So I had this collection which Joanna actually bought for me for my birthday a few years ago. But I've read a lot of them where I've like, okay, I've spent a lot of time with William Blake and with Wordsworth, like way before I was introduced to FebRegency. And then last year we did We Love Jenny the same month as FebRegency. So I read a lot of Shelley and Byron for that reason. So I was looking through this and I'm like, who have I not read as much by? And I'm like, have I read any Coleridge at all? So then I looked up Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner and like it's in this collection, but it's so long. And I have found that like if it's a longer poem, it's better if I either read it out loud or listen to an audiobook. So I found an audiobook version of the Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner because I think otherwise I just like lose some of the beauty of the language.
Yes.
And it was so good. I didn't know the water everywhere, not a drop to drink came from the Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner.
Yes.
I had no idea.
I loved that.
Yeah. So I absolutely loved it. I felt like it was intriguing. It was creepy at times and like also like had a really interesting moral in terms of like nature and stuff, kind of like a harm no living thing kind of a
Mhm.
situation
Mhm.
with the albatross.
Yes.
It was so good. I loved it.
I did not expect the supernatural element.
I
That
didn't
came out
either.
of nowhere for me. I was
I
like,
didn't either.
so good.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
he was addicted to drugs, so
He does
yes, that
indeed.
makes sense.
He does indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that until afterwards. I was like, it does feel like he was a drug addict. I didn't really think about it. It was just fun while I was reading it.
Yeah, so I read that one and the audiobook that I had for Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. Hey, she's back.
Yay, she's back.
Also had Kubla Khan, so I listened to that as well, which I liked but didn't love as much. And then I read some of his shorter poems, just like sitting reading it out of the book. So there's one about a river otter that I was like, oh, I have to read this. So my sister loves otters, so
You
but I
were
read a few others too.
obligated.
So
Nice. Now you have a grasp on like most of the romantic poets.
yeah, I need to read some more Keats because I haven't read a ton of him. So that'll be next year because that's in this collection as well. And I know I've read some Keats, but not a ton. So
Nice.
Well, I listened to Gandalf reading The Ancient
my
Mariner on YouTube.
gosh.
It was so good.
That would be so
And
good.
his version was different than the one I was reading with my eyes because I was immersion reading it. So that was interesting to see the differences because he did cut it down at some point. Because when he first released it, it wasn't very popular, and so he sort of cut it down. He cut out certain verses, but I was like, I like all of them. I am glad that I have both versions so I can see still what he cut out. So I enjoyed that. And he did write it very like it was like easy reading, like for normal people. Whereas I feel like I think that was maybe a romantic poet thing where they were like, we want the common man to be able to understand what we are saying. I really appreciated that because I was able to enjoy it. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I love the focus in romantic poetry on like nature and attributing that to emotions or love or just like and not like they're the only poets who do that. I think that that's something that's probably always existed within poetry. But I just feel like the romantic poets do it better than anybody else. Honestly.
Well, and they have the coolest stories too, like just their selves and like what they did every day. It's just like they were such outsiders almost. It's just fascinating.
Very much so. Yeah.
And I think isn't there like a story where somebody's heart was like on fire and then their brain, like there was a whole thing. And I remember my professor in college told us about it, and I can't remember.
I don't remember that. I feel like I would remember that.
Yeah, when they were cremating somebody, like they literally saw his heart, and it was like, it really stood out to me because I was like, that would have been very trippy.
It really fits in well with Regency era stuff, though. As dramatic as things are in the Regency era, like that is legit.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. Did anybody do anything?
I didn't this time.
A nice mushroom patty. That just sounds so
Henry Tilney's nice.
He is, but
I was gonna make Scotch eggs and then I didn't get around to it. I've made them before, but I love them.
right.
Yeah. That fuels their art. Being on the margins and feeling outside of society. The rejection fuels them.
They could be subversive, not submersive. Subversive.
You're thinking Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, submerged. That's where, there you go.
Like, die, fiend, die.
Oh, goodness.
I didn't think about Scotch eggs. Those would have been good. I made no attempt to make anything this year. I was just surviving, I'll be honest.
I mean, same. That's why I didn't make anything.
Yeah.
I bought the stuff for Scotch eggs, though, but Then my life fell apart for like 2 weeks. And I'm like, oh well.
I looked up a ton of recipes, but nothing was sounding good because a lot of them have like wheat in them, and I just have so much trouble with wheat that I usually try to find other kinds of recipes that don't involve wheat. So I looked up a lot, but most of them weren't things that I could just.
Yeah.
But there were ices. I looked up how to make ices because I thought this sounds yummy and fun, but it was a little bit too involved for me. So I didn't end up doing it. But ices sounded fun. I was like, what even is that? So yeah, I fell down the research rabbit hole about that.
I gotta admit, I Googled other recipes other than like, Scotch eggs, and there were some of them that I'm like, why did people eat this? Like there was a lot of them that I'm like, this sounds like bland disgustingness.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah.
Basically
the
felt like
same way.
gruel.
Yeah.
Mr. Woodhouse's gruel.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we have so many spices nowadays. It's like,
we are truly blessed.
It's hard to come back from that.
Yeah. Yeah. It really
When you
is.
look at
We're
what
really lucky.
Americans made too in the past, it was like, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I can see why pancakes took off,
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm not trying to actually disparage Great Britain at all for that.
It was just
it is that spices weren't
everybody.
readily available in certain countries, and so they made do with what they had, and we live in a great time period where it's easy to get all kinds of like exotic or rare spices.
Mm-hmm.
What a time to be alive. We are truly blessed. Books are easy to get, spices are easy to get. What more do we need?
Right.
We have the technology to do this right now.
Right.
I think I read about curry too, like how curry ended up being a British dish because it's not like originally it wasn't from Britain. Obviously, curry was not from Britain, but Britain got this idea that curry, their idea of curry is you dump curry powder in it and it becomes curry. And obviously that's not how curry is everywhere else where they were, but because the cooks were often native to different countries, when British people tried to emulate that, they didn't really know how to do it. So
Right.
it's really interesting. Yes, I was actually thinking of the weird Jello things that my family made. Like
Savory Jello.
I just, now that I see
like
Jello.
Yeah, savory Jello.
Gross.
Yeah. And I just think of The Office when Jim puts Dwight's stuff in Jello.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do that to someone.
I found a store, a gummy thing that was like Jello, like looked like a Jello mold with like a little stapler in it, and I bought it for someone as a gift because it looked like that.
Love it.
Yeah, so Japan and Korea is the same way, that they eat what you would eat for breakfast, like for dinner at breakfast. Like it's not like specific breakfast foods.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
And then you have like Leslie and Ron from Parks and Rec that were like, who wouldn't want to eat breakfast at every single meal?
I mean, really.
Like,
I love breakfast for
pancakes
dinner.
and bacon.
I like breakfast for dinner more than breakfast for breakfast.
Yeah. What a great time to be alive.
Indeed. Indeed.
Yeah, see, that sounds so good.
Okay, so the last time that we were on, we talked about like ranking Jane Austen novels. And I'm just curious, now that Christy has reread Sense and Sensibility, if that changes her ranking at all.
Ooh.
I know it's not still first, but I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I would say it's third. So I would say,
Really?
Mansfield Park, Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility. I know Northanger Abbey is at the bottom. Sorry.
I know, it's fine.
And then
it is for a lot of people.
I feel like Persuasion would be above that. And then what's the other one?
Do you like Emma more than both of those?
Oh, I think I like Persuasion. Well, I think I like Persuasion more than Emma. Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
Yeah. Emma was mostly good, but I was very anxious while reading it. So, whereas Northanger Abbey, I was literally bored the whole time. So,
It's a
Yeah.
good thing you weren't friends with me in high school then, because I loved Catherine Morland. Dramatic and overthinking things. Actually, I still do, but also believing the best of people and just getting trashed in the process. I was Catherine Morland in high school.
I
She's
think
very
people are different than books. Definitely. I would have loved you. I would have loved you any time in life that we met. Yep.
Yeah, Persuasion being that low has Dia going.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
I honestly
Persuasion's in my
found
top 3.
I found Persuasion a bit dull. I didn't really like the main guy, honestly. The letter came out of nowhere for me, and I was like, "Oh well, I guess good for them."
Good thing Evie's not on here.
Oh my gosh. That's like, I want this to be like the best review. I'm like, well, good for them.
Yeah, I was like,
I
"Boy,
think we
you
should
should get
do
over
one
him."
video, one line review. Good for them.
That letter came out from out of nowhere, but oh well, good for them.
Yeah.
So one sentence review for Persuasion. I just love that.
It felt like very bare bones to me. I feel like it was like an early stage of writing where she hadn't fleshed it out fully to me. So.
Now, how
So-
old have you read Persuasion recently, or did you just read it a long time ago?
Yeah, I think I
Okay.
read it for one of the more recent FebRegencies. I read it.
I was just wondering because I feel like Persuasion I didn't like that much in high school, and I love it as an adult because it's more
Mhm.
it's older, more mature protagonists. So they
Yeah.
didn't feel very relatable to me in high school, and they do more now. But
I liked the main character, but yeah, it was just sort of depressing the whole time. And then the end was like, you still like him? Even after he ignored you for so long? I don't know. I just wasn't into him. I like the Eds though, and nobody else likes the Eds. So I'm just weird,
Yes.
apparently.
I love it.
well, you also have an unpopular opinion with Mansfield Park being your
Yes.
favorite because a lot of people hate Mansfield Park, and I don't get the hate. I do
Yeah.
not. It's not my favorite. It's in my bottom half, but I still really enjoyed reading Mansfield Park.
Yeah. And
Yay.
Mansfield Park is one for me I really appreciated more as an adult.
Yes.
But even as a teenager, I didn't hate it. I don't get the absolute hate for it.
I think people think Fanny is mousy, but I'm like, well, that's what being raised by abusive people will do to you.
Yeah.
They
It's
manipulate you and
actually
make
strong.
that your opinion and your feelings don't matter and are an inconvenience to others.
Right.
And she had
That's
chronic
what
illness.
Yeah.
So those two things combined, it was like,
Yeah. So I think like on reread, Fanny's like such a good character.
I think she is
Like,
too.
such a strong character.
really, Dia? I've never met anyone else whose favorite was also Mansfield Park.
I haven't either.
I think Tristan said it was his second. I was like, that's the highest I've ever heard anyone rate it besides me.
Yeah. Man,
Mm.
I don't know what I think Pride and Prejudice will always be my top just because that is what got me really into classics and it's just so nostalgic.
That's very valid. Pride and
For me,
Prejudice is
so
a
good.
masterpiece.
And like the more I read it, like just the structure of it, I just love it so much.
Yes.
And but I think after that, I think Persuasion may be my second.
Mm.
And then
Mm.
Emma, Mansfield Park, Northanger Abbey, and then Sense and Sensibility is on the bottom. I mean, I still enjoy it. Like we said in the last show, there's like no bad Jane Austen, but
Right.
and I haven't read Sense and Sensibility in a while, but I just don't seeing it going up the ladder on reread.
It didn't. Well, it actually dropped on the ladder for like what I reread it as an adult. It was my favorite in high school. Number one favorite, like hands down. And then when I reread it as an adult, it dropped to the bottom.
Yeah.
But then rereading now, it's probably like fifth.
Yeah.
Well, fourth or fifth. I don't know. That in Mansfield Park like flip flop for me for 4 and 5. So
But I loved hearing about how like into it your students got with all the drama.
Yes.
So like we said, it's not a bad Austen. Like there's
It's
still so
good.
much there.
I love the sister relationship. That's something that really gets me, having two sisters. I love it. And I was definitely more of a Marianne when I was younger and have turned more into an Eleanor, but like it's really interesting to see that Jane Austen isn't saying Eleanor being the way that she is ideal either. Like she grows too, to learn like, hey, it's not good if you hide your emotions from everyone all the time.
Right. And
I
feel
didn't like Lady Susan. I did not.
love to hate the villain in Sense and Sensibility.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, she's so hateable. It's so fun.
Yeah. I haven't read Lady Susan since I was a teenager. And I think as a teenager, I wasn't as picky as I am now. So I'm interested if I would like it now or not.
I think I would like Lady Susan more if it was longer, because I didn't have enough time to care about anybody.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you doing? Oh, well, or it's over.
I did like
There's my one sentence review for Lady Susan.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Oh, well, it's over.
I do remember reading Love and Friendship and then seeing the movie with, I think it was Kate Beckinsale. And she did such a good job with that character that it was enjoyable. It was fun.
Oh, I need to see that. I actually enjoyed Lady Susan.
I was so excited because when it came out, I got my friend to go watch it with me who wasn't a reader, and she enjoyed it. And it was like, I've converted someone. And I mean, it's not her best, obviously, but I think she's just one of those characters that you could easily love to hate.
Yeah.
And it was just drama.
I feel like this is the anti-hero age where if there is a time for Lady Susan to flourish, it's now.
Yeah.
I agree with this too. I struggle with a solely epistolary format where it's only letters.
Yeah, that's totally fair. It's easy to get bogged down in all of that. And I feel like it's hard to make it, the execution of it, do really well versus just prose or prose and letters.
Yeah, because I've noticed, especially like teaching through Sense and Sensibility to my class and like rereading Pride and Prejudice last year, like there is so like letters always play an integral role in every Austen story. So I think there are quite a few letters other than Lady Susan's. Like she goes back and forth with people, and then other people are talking about her too. I think there's actually at least 4 or 5 different people who are writing letters, if I remember correctly. I listened to an audiobook version, and there were like at least 4 different people reading. Because they had a full cast, somebody for each person, which is cool. I still didn't like it though.
I love how gossipy everything is, though.
Oh,
yeah.
It's so fun because it's like there's a video, I can't remember the creator on Instagram, and he's like I hate drama. Other people's drama, I love it, but I don't want my drama.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is so accurate.
Yes.
I think Jane Austen shows that as much as like the world has changed since the Regency era, human nature has always been the same.
Right.
And gossip is part of that.
Yes. Yes. That's so true. And I feel like all her characters are just so timeless.
They are. That's why they're still writing retellings.
I know Marianne. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so many retellings that people are still making. Like, how many times has Pride and Prejudice been redone? Like, the fact that Twilight even is supposed to be a Pride and Prejudice retelling.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's heavily influenced by Pride and Prejudice.
How many influences does she have in Twilight?
Probably a lot.
I'm sorry. That was really mean. I know. It just keeps stacking up.
But it's just fun. Like, there's so many. Yeah, I know you do. Yeah.
I'm like, all the drama. I want it. Except for Clarissa, it was the same drama over and over again for 200 pages, and I had to take a break.
It's like, you guys need to just learn.
I need it to be like progressive drama.
Progressive drama. We got to work through this drama, guys.
Yeah. You can have another thing happen, but like, let's move on from this and keep it going.
It's a beautiful perspective, Stephanie. I love it.
I'm not jaded with life at all. It's fine.
Some people, this was before therapy though. So people they repeated their drama over. I know. The face for the Twilight was like, it just said everything. Everything.
Yeah. It's fine.
Oh, this is fun.
Oh, that
What
is
a fun idea. I would watch that religiously if that was a podcast, like a real podcast. I would be like,
there is a remake of Mansfield Park on YouTube that I watched with some friends a couple years ago. It's with Mansfield with Love, and it was so fun. I think it took us like a month to watch it. There's a lot of episodes, but it was so fun, and it was very obviously an amateur production. But it's fun to see those more, like, for lack of a better term, maybe campy remakes, like the budget Pride and Prejudice. I mean,
yes, I was thinking that, Dia. I was like, okay, the drama in Evelina got really old.
I have Evelina on my TBR at some point. I own it.
I think it was Evelina. Wasn't that like our first group read? I think it was.
I think it was. I didn't get to it, but I bought it.
I don't recommend it.
Wild.
Isn't that exclusively epistolary? I feel like it is, right?
I feel like it might be, but I don't remember.
I think that's why I didn't even pick it up.
This is how I felt about Clarissa, because it was like, it was just back and forth on the same thing. It's like, move on.
They didn't have therapy.
Characters who would have been my least favorite characters in other books were my favorite in Evelina, just because they made things happen. It was interesting.
You were sick of being there.
Yeah. I was like, great, blow it up. I'm happy that you're blowing things up here.
Blow it up.
Yeah. Gracious.
Sometimes you just need people like that, and that's okay.
Yeah. In books. In real life, yeah, I'm good.
I mean, you need people who are going to move things along. You
Yeah.
just don't want it to be drama, but
yeah, drama can stagnate. So I get it. Yeah. I think it just cracks me up when people say classics are boring, because especially since I've joined YouTube and I found so many underrated classics. There's so many just like Victorian sensation novels, and then Jane Austen. It's like there's so much drama going on. Like, how
if
can
you think a classic is boring, it might just not be a good fit for you. But there's gonna be something out there.
I get in school, they teach them to death sometimes. I totally get that.
Yeah.
I think they're so worth trying. There's just so much in there.
And like timeless themes. That's why they're still around. That's why they're still in publication. And a lot of today's literature takes notes from classics.
Yes. Or like, it's also fun too, like when we were reading The Italian, and I said it reminded me of George Eliot too, because you can feel the influences of like Shakespeare or like George Eliot, and like Charlotte Mary Young does it too. They like, like Wordsworth would say, or as the poet, this person said. And so it's just fun to see all the literary crossover and influences too.
Yeah, it is. It is. And then a lot of these books, like I said, influenced a lot of modern literature. So you might just find connections from some books that are your favorites that were done long ago.
Yes.
That is so fun. When you've read enough of the authors that you can see them talking to each other.
Yeah. It's my favorite when I read two books that, like, especially when it's like I wasn't planning it and I have two books I read at the same time that feel like they're talking to each other. It's just the most fun experience.
Yeah. And, like Christy said, not every classic is a good fit for someone.
Right.
So, like, I hate Lord of the Flies, but I know people that love it. I hated Jude the Obscure. Other people think it's the greatest novel ever written. I don't understand it, but they can have their wrong opinion. That's fine.
It's a good thing Tristan's not here right now.
I know.
We
I
had a
don't think you
conversation
watched
that
that video
after we
where I
came.
literally threw the book.
I would have if I owned it, but I didn't. So
Yeah.
I refrained because I care about my public library.
Well, the fate of the library dominates over the opinion of the book.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, yeah, that will happen.
Mhm.
Or even like Kate Howe was saying, like, what is it? There's some Mary Elizabeth Braddon book. I think The Doctor's Wife. If you haven't read Dombey and Son, it spoils the whole.
Yeah. So I didn't read the group
Mhm.
read because I was like, well,
Yeah.
I haven't read Dombey and Son yet.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's like, thank goodness somebody said something.
Yeah. I would have been mad because it's like one of only 3 Dickens I have left to read.
Yeah.
I'm like, really?
Ooh, you're getting close.
I
Are you
am.
gonna do a Dickens ranking?
You should.
I should.
I would watch that.
I will. But
I mean, I
don't
watch
know
everything you make.
when I'm
but
going to finish. Maybe next year I'll be done. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
So I only have 2 big ones and then a really short one. So
I don't know how many I have left. I started over because I was doing the Dickens project where I read them in order, but then I got out of order and now I'm back. I think I maybe have 4 or 5 left.
well, you've read the ones that I haven't read yet.
Okay.
So we
I
can't
really
read
like
together.
Dombey and Son. I thought that was so good.
That's my Dickens this year. I'm reading that in December. But then I have to read Barnaby Rudge, which I know you didn't enjoy,
I'm sorry.
and then Hard Times. And that's it.
I have not read that one either.
Okay, well maybe we can read that one together. It's short.
Okay.
Maybe
Hard
Victoria-
Times?
Yeah.
I want to read it.
It's really
I don't know
short.
why. I'm gonna subject
Add
myself.
another buddy read.
You'll- Maybe Victober.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be
I'm putting
fun.
it on my list. I want to read your favorite too, Tiffany, because that one sounds like similar to Bleak House, maybe.
Might be. I love it.
Did you say it was Our Mutual Friend? Is that what you? Okay.
It's my favorite.
I have not read that one yet, but that's the one I think I'm most excited to get to of the ones I have not read yet.
It's his last completed novel. So I feel like it's kind of a culmination of Oh yeah, I am reading Dombey and Son with Dia and Sandy.
Oh, that'll be a fun group to read with.
Mhm.
I love it.
Oh, and you're reading Wives and Daughters too. I forgot.
Yes,
You're
I
gonna
am
have a
reading
very
Wives
busy
and Daughters
week.
this year. I haven't read it yet.
That was one. I know this isn't Regency.
Yeah, I know we're in Victorian firmly right now.
But Wives and Daughters, I really liked it the first time I read it, and then I read it again with Kate Howe's group, and we had a discussion on it, and people had so many opinions on one of the main characters, and I didn't like her more, but it really made me appreciate her more, and I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, I love that.
So, but she doesn't like cheese, and as soon as I read that, it's like, you're never going to be a favorite person. I'm sorry.
What if someone can't have cheese, Stephanie?
Well, that's different.
Okay,
She
so
doesn't
you like
like it. She can eat it. She just doesn't like it.
You say I can't.
If you have like a medical reason, I totally understand.
I'm just making sure we're good. I'm just clearing the air.
No, but the first time I read it, I circled that because I was like, who doesn't like cheese? It just really threw me off because it was a Victorian novel and she hates cheese.
Oh my god, we were just watching Kids Baking Championship, and one of the kids, we love Kids Baking Championship, it's so funny. One of the kids was like, yeah, I don't like cheese. It's basically rotting food, and I don't know why anybody eats it. We just died.
See, I feel that
Think
way
about
about
it that
blue
way.
cheese, but you can see the stuff in the blue cheese.
Yes.
So,
True. You can
Oh,
see the
yeah.
mold.
Yes.
I know. That's one of your faves.
Ooh.
I haven't read that many. Honestly, I've only read 2, and I didn't love either of them. So I'm hoping Wives and Daughters is the one that I love. I liked both of the ones that I read. I read North and South and Cranford, but neither of them were ones that I was like wowed by. I'm like, these are good, but not a favorite. So I'm really hoping that Wives and Daughters will be.
I love North and South so much. That was my first Gaskell.
It's mine too.
And then I watched the miniseries, and it was like, Richard Armitage will always be Mr. Thornton.
Love it. I haven't read it or watched it yet.
But I think for me, it's North and South, Wives and Daughters, and then Cranford.
Mm.
But they're also different.
Yeah, Cranford was
All
fun.
of her novels are different.
So it's funny because the last time I read North and South, the last time I read North and South, I actually read it with Stephanie and Kate from the Literary Apothecary.
Oh, that's
And
right.
that was a reread for me because I had read it once before and I didn't like it at all because someone told me it was like Pride and Prejudice, only better. And it is not like Pride and Prejudice at all.
It's not.
The only similarity is love interests that misunderstand and misjudge one another. That's
Yeah.
the only similarity. And so I was like, what are people talking about?
That would be disappointing.
Yeah. So I'm tying it back into FebRegency. So
Thank you for coming full circle.
Come full circle. I like Pride and Prejudice better than North and South, but I liked it so much more on a second read because my expectations were tempered. And I was like, this is not the same. It's way sadder.
Well, it's just like going back to Victorian. It's just like
I tried.
I'm sorry. It's just like Wuthering Heights, though. People are like advertising it as a romance, and it's like it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
Yeah.
Weird.
So, but again, like you said, circling back, the themes just keep, they're timeless.
Yes. Yeah. I love Elizabeth Gaskell's writing. Like her writing, especially at the beginning of the book. I think I would have liked it better. And it wouldn't have been the same book. It wouldn't have made any sense if they had stayed in the South, because I loved how beautiful her nature writing was when they lived in the South. But it wouldn't have been a story. It
would have just been the South.
It wouldn't have been a story. But I'm like, I want to read something that feels more pastoral by her because I loved how she described like the gardens and like all that. Like I loved it. It's so
You
beautiful.
should read Lark Rise to Candleford, the trilogy.
I own it.
It's very
But I
pastoral.
have not yet read it. I can't wait. I'm planning.
It's so lovely.
Who's that by?
Soon-ish, within the next couple of years.
Laura Thompson.
I've heard of the TV show before the book. I didn't know
it's different than the TV show, but Dia and I read it's the Lark Rise trilogy. We read it 2023, and then last year we read Still Glides the Stream, and they were all just really lovely.
I love me some lovely writing. Faux show.
Okay, so nobody say anything important.
Something that's changed my life this February.
Right. I bought a fortune cookie yesterday, and
something I've been meaning to talk with Dia about.
If she ever watches this back.
Right.
I hope she does. She'd laugh.
I mean, I watched part of our reading sprints back because I wanted to see something, and I was cracking up.
We had such a good time. We did not read very much, but we had a good time.
Yeah. And then even after we went offline, it was like, okay, I gotta go. Oh, but anyway.
It was like another hour or hour and a half that we were talking.
Yeah.
It was good.
Goodness.
Penny called them non-reading sprints. And
That's
I'm like, yeah.
She's not wrong.
Yeah, you're right.
But honestly, though, like Penny helps keep us on track.
God bless Penny.
Because we
Penny.
go off on a lot of tangents.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Always.
What would we do without Penny?
Oh,
you watched them today? Honestly, if you haven't seen them, they're worth going back and watching because we have some great conversations about Regency stuff and like and Tristan is like so like he knows so much. His knowledge is so vast on Regency era literature. And man, it is a blast to listen to him talk about it. So it's worth it to go watch it because our conversations were great.
I added so much to my TBR. He'd mentioned something and it's like writing that down. I'm gonna look into that.
We're all on our phones staring at like want to read on Goodreads.
You could see my hand come up. I was taking screenshots on my phone.
I love it. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he's fantastic.
He is. We miss him today, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know. I was interested. I want to know if he found his book.
I know. He lost his book.
And we're all like, where's the book? And we
I'm
haven't
waiting.
heard-
I put in the group chat that I want an update on that, so I really hope that he gives us one because I really want to know.
Yes.
feel like we had a live show today and everyone's waiting with bated breath if
Mm.
you found your William Godwin.
I was also going to tell him that I noticed at least 3 other times in the Italian that the word umbrageous was used. Like it was the word of the book. Like at least 4 times throughout the entirety of the Italian was umbrage or umbrageous used.
Wow.
I feel like Steven Erickson, which is not a Regency era author, every book, he's got one word that he just reuses all the time. And it's like some authors
Oh,
just do
yeah.
that. It's so funny.
Especially when it's a word that's not as common, you really
Yes.
notice.
Like Deadhouse Gates, it was
Yeah.
ogre, and I think he used it like 20 plus, 30 plus times.
What a weird word to use sometimes.
I know.
Surely there's another word.
Yeah, but it was
Alan
just so
pointed out
funny.
that Pierce Brown uses latifundia a lot. And I was like, I never noticed that, but now that you've mentioned it, he really
Yeah.
does.
Or like Murphy has a thing about the word undulate.
I
And
noticed
now
it
every
every
time
time now.
it comes up, I'm like, oh, there it goes.
I think of her every single time. And like it's in every single book. She said that when she talked about how much she hated the word. She's like, it's in every book. And I'm like, you're so right. It's in children's books, it's in classics, it's in modern literature. We don't have any other word for like a waving motion, apparently.
Exactly. Oh my goodness.
Oh man. Some people can pick out those kinds of things. Alan is
It has
definitely
to
one of
be
them.
really obvious for me to notice it. Or like
Yeah,
such a
me
weird
too.
word like latifundia. That
Yeah.
would really stick out to me because that's not one that I use in my everyday vernacular.
I tend to notice phrases a lot of times more than I notice specific words.
Mm.
It's like, oh, this is happening. I remember there was one fantasy book that I was reading, and I lost count of how many times. I'm like, okay, I get it's hot outside. How many times have you said the sweat trickled between someone's breasts? Like, I'm not even kidding you. Like, at least 6 times in the first half of this book. I'm like, it's hot. I get it. Like,
I feel like there are other ways to continually describe how hot it is.
yes. Apparently not. And that's the only way you can sweat in a fantasy book.
Was it written by a male author?
It was not. It was not. It was one of the Winter Night books by Catherine Arden.
Oh. See, I did those on audio. I haven't read the last one, but the first 2 I did on audio, and I don't remember that.
I think it was. I think it was book 3
Okay.
because I think it's really hot because the guy is really struggling. The frost guy. I can't remember his name. It's been like 4 years since I read it. Frost demon thing, whatever his name is.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
it's hot. This is not good. And we're like, we get it. She's sweating. We know. That's my 1 sentence review for that book, which I gave like 2 stars.
I think that would be such a fun video idea to get together to do 1 sentence reviews.
It would.
That
I
would be
love it. I should do it for like every book you read in a year. 1 sentence.
right.
Just keep writing
I've
them down at the
seen-
end of the year.
Yeah. I've seen a couple channels do that, but they don't do it to be funny. They're just doing it to be efficient. But I think it would be funny to do it. Just this is my off the top of my head thought. Moving on. Instead of a carefully curated, lovely sentence review.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's even more fun if it's a book you didn't like.
Yeah, like Nina Balatka, like it's a book.
It was a book. That's
I
the
mean-
only thing it gets.
Yeah.
Every time, I don't hear very many people talk about that book, but every time I do, I think of that. If I had a nickel for every time I thought of that, I'd only have 2 nickels, but still, it's kind of weird that I have it twice.
I'd only do
There's my Doofenshmirtz
Yeah.
reference for the day.
And I really want other people to read it so I can tell if it's just me or if it's the book.
Well, I mean, you probably don't want me to read it because isn't it Trollope?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to tell you. I feel that way about most of his books that I
I
read.
know I want a Trollope fan to read it because that's the only one I've really not liked. And I
Maybe
mean, I
Penny,
didn't
you
hate
should
it.
have Penny read it. Penny, if you're here, read Nina Balatka.
Yeah.
But no pressure, so you don't hate it because we're forcing you.
She might like it. There's a lot, because she liked Barchester Towers more than I did, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And in Nina Balatka, there's a lot of like religious talk. But for me, it got kind of heavy. Kind of like the let's move on. Like, we get it.
Yeah.
It was repeated.
Yeah.
Repetitively. It got redundant how repetitive it was.
Yeah. Like, I appreciate the exploration, but it could have been cut down a little bit and your point still would have been made. Yeah. We'll see. Penny would be a good one to read it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe in like 10 years when she finally gets to it, I'll have an answer. There are other
waiting with bated breath for 10 years.
Wherever I am in 10 years, she finally messages me and I'm like, finally.
I haven't slept well in a decade.
Penny was my saving grace after all this time. She's going to randomly come back to this video and be like, you're so odd.
What is happening? We did warn you at the beginning of this live, everyone, that this was going to be a good time and it was going to be chaotic. So you're welcome.
At least there's no expectation that we'll take breaks and read in this one. We can just be chaotic the whole time.
Yeah. And we were like really on topic for the first like 50 minutes.
We were.
You can click off at like about 52 and you will not miss anything except random talks about Victorian literature and words that bother us.
Yes. I love it. Oh my gosh. Well, I am very much looking forward to the next FebRegency. I'm sad it's over. It was I liked our low key. I think that was perfect for this year.
Absolutely.
February is too short though. I need to rant for a second because I really wanted to read The Antiquary. And I just did not have time because February is only 28 days. Like, if there were still a couple days, I would have enough time to finish it. But yeah.
FebRegency will be in your heart all year round.
Yes.
Like Christmas.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
That's our tagline.
Yeah. Yes, Victober is the most wonderful. Yeah. Well, no, every readathon though, like Victober is now. I feel like it's the most wonderful time of the year.
Oh yes.
So then FebRegency,
the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, I love it.
Yes.
We need coffee mugs.
Yes.
Well,
one of these years we'll have to try out doing merch.
That would be fun.
I love it. All right. Well, this feels like a good stopping point before we go on another crazy tangent.
The culmination of FebRegency.
Yes. But thank you, everyone who joined and participated, and all of our co-hosts. It was such a good group effort this year, and I loved it. So, yeah, please make sure to follow every one of the co-hosts, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.